The midnight hour. Commander Juno Reyes stood motionless on the observation deck of Bastion Station, humanity's final refuge hidden in the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Saturn. Her weathered face reflected in the reinforced viewport as she watched the approaching Krell Armada. 300 alien warships against their pitiful collection of retrofitted mining vessels and civilian transports. The math was simple, brutal, final. "Commander, they're broadcasting again," Lieutenant Vaughn reported, his voice tight with exhaustion. "Same demands as before." Juno didn't need to hear them. The Krell had made their intentions clear when they reduced Earth to a molten sphere 8 months ago. Unconditional surrender or extinction. No negotiation, no mercy. "Our response remains unchanged," she said, turning from the viewport. "We hold." The bridge crew exchanged glances. They'd all lost someone when Earth fell. Billions dead in minutes when the Krell planet killers ignited the atmosphere. Millions more in the systematic purge of lunar colonies and Martian outposts that followed. What remained of humanity now huddled in this hastily converted mining station and a handful of hidden colonies scattered throughout the solar system. "With respect, Commander," Chief Engineer Takahashi spoke up, his hands trembling slightly, "we can't win this. Maybe if we negotiate." "There is no negotiation with the Krell," Juno cut him off. "They didn't negotiate when they glassed Earth. They didn't negotiate when they hunted down our colonies one by one. We die on our feet, not on our knees." The bridge fell silent. Everyone remembered the horror of Earth's destruction, the screams cutting off across communication channels as billions perished. But what haunted Juno most was what happened 3 days later. Admiral Harrison and the UEF Valiant, along with 500 of humanity's most advanced warships, had simply vanished. No distress signals, no debris fields. The pride of human engineering had disappeared into the void without explanation, leaving the survivors to face extinction alone. Some called it desertion, others a final desperate mission. Juno didn't know what to believe anymore, but she knew one thing: they were on their own. "Commander," Sensor Officer Davies' voice cracked with urgency, "I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions in Sector 12. Something big is happening out there." Juno rushed to the sensor station. The readings made no sense. Spacetime itself seemed to be warping, creating ripples that traveled faster than light. "Is it a new Krell weapon?" she demanded. "No, ma'am, the signature is. It's unlike anything in our database." Davies' eyes widened. "The distortions are increasing. Whatever's causing this, it's coming our way." The Krell had noticed too. Their perfect formation wavered as ships turned to face the anomaly. High Commander Vextar's vessel, the Endless Night, moved to investigate. Then space itself seemed to scream. A massive rift tore open in the fabric of reality, its edges crackling with energies that defied known physics. The Krell immediately opened fire, their plasma weapons and quantum torpedoes streaming toward the portal. The attack simply dissolved before reaching their target, absorbed by the writhing energies of the rift. From within the impossible wound in spacetime, shadows began to emerge. Massive angular shapes that hurt to look at directly, as if they existed partially outside normal dimensions. As they fully materialized, gasps echoed across Bastion's bridge. They were human ships, but not as anyone remembered them. The vessels bore familiar names: UES Resolution, UES Defiance, UES Prometheus, but their forms had been transformed. Where once sleek battle cruisers had prowled space, now things of impossible geometry drifted forward. Their hulls seemed to shift and flow, covered in patterns that appeared both organic and mechanical. Weapon ports that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space bristled along surfaces that curved through dimensions the human eye couldn't properly process. At the head of this transformed fleet, the flagship UES Invictus emerged, 3 times larger than its original design. It pulsed with an inner light that seemed to come from somewhere beyond the visible spectrum. "All Krell vessels," a familiar voice broadcast across every frequency, somehow reaching even the shielded Krell communications. "This is Admiral Octavia Harrison of the United Earth Fleet. You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning." High Commander Vextar's response was immediate. "Impossible, Harrison, your fleet was destroyed. Our sensors detected no survivors." "Destroyed?" Harrison's laugh held no humor. "No, Commander, we simply went somewhere you couldn't follow, somewhere your limited understanding of physics said couldn't exist." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "We found the architects." Even at the distance of several light seconds, Juno could see the Krell ship's recoil. The architects were legend, the mythical race that had supposedly built the first hyperdrive engines before vanishing from the galaxy millions of years ago. Every spacefaring species had stories about them, but none had ever found proof of their existence. Earth wasn't our only world, Harrison continued. While you celebrated your hollow victory, we found humanity's birthright. The architects didn't vanish, they ascended, and they've been waiting for a species with the will to join them. Turns out desperation and human stubbornness make for excellent qualifications. Vextar's telepathic snarl echoed across space. Lies, you're nothing but upstart mammals, fire all weapons, destroy these abominations. The Krell fleet unleashed everything they had. Thousands of energy beams, missile swarms, and exotic weapons converged on the human ships. The transformed vessels didn't even attempt to dodge, they simply stopped existing in the path of the attacks. Where the human ships had been, empty space greeted the Krell weapons. A heartbeat later, the human fleet rematerialized behind the enemy formation, their own weapons charging with energies that made space itself ripple. You had your chance, Harrison's voice carried a terrible finality. Humanity offers mercy once, only once. The human ships fired. Beams of twisted spacetime lashed out, ignoring shields and armor as if they didn't exist. Where they struck, Krell vessels simply ceased, not destroyed, not vaporized, simply erased from reality as if they had never been. The mighty dreadnoughts that had terrorized the galaxy fell like leaves before a hurricane. On Bastion Station, Juno and her crew watched in stunned silence as their transformed fleet carved through the enemy. The Krell's weapons couldn't track targets that phased between dimensions. Their shields couldn't stop attacks that bypassed normal space entirely. Their strategies meant nothing against an enemy that had transcended conventional warfare. "Commander," Lieutenant Vaughn whispered, his voice filled with awe. "What happened to them? Where did they go?" Juno shook her head slowly, watching as the endless night attempted to flee, only to be caught in a web of gravitational distortions that tore it apart at the molecular level. "I don't know, Lieutenant," she said quietly, "but I think we're about to find out." As the last Krell ship dissolved into quantum foam, Admiral Harrison's image appeared on every screen in the Sol system. She looked older, her dark hair now streaked with silver, her eyes holding depths that seemed to contain galaxies. "To all human survivors," she began, her voice carrying the weight of 8 months of transformation. "Your exile ends today. Earth may be gone, but humanity endures. We've returned not just to reclaim our home, but to reshape the galaxy itself." She paused, and for a moment, the bridge displays showed glimpses of things beyond human comprehension. Vast structures that dwarfed stars, beams of pure thought that swam through cosmic strings, technologies that rewrote the fundamental constants of reality. "We found the architect's legacy," Harrison continued. "Not their machines or their cities, but their purpose. They didn't vanish, they evolved beyond the need for physical form, but they left behind guardians, watchers to guide younger races to transcendence. Humanity has passed their tests. We've been given the tools not just to survive, but to become something greater." Juno found her voice at last. "Admiral Harrison, this is Commander Reyes of Bastion Station. What are your orders?" Harrison's image turned to look directly at her, and Juno gasped. The Admiral's eyes weren't human anymore. They held swirling galaxies, infinite depth, the light of newborn stars. "Prepare your people, Commander," Harrison said, her smile holding promise and threat in equal measure. "We're going to rebuild Earth not as it was, but as it should be. And then, we're going to have a conversation with the rest of the galaxy about how they treat younger species." As the transformed fleet moved toward the remains of humanity's hidden colonies, space itself seemed to sing with possibility. The Krell had fought humanity, defeated them. The galaxy had believed humans were just another conquered species. They were about to learn that sometimes, when you push a species to the brink of extinction, you don't break them. Sometimes, you force them to become something the universe has never seen before. Part 2: Ascension Protocol. The Galactic Council's emergency session convened in chaos. Representatives from 200 species filled the grand amphitheater of Nexus Station, their voices a cacophony of fear, disbelief, and accusations. At the center of it all, High Commander Vextar's hologram flickered, transmitted from what remained of his fleet near the Sol system. "Order, we must have order," Council Speaker Thaz demanded, her crystalline form resonating with harmonic tones of distress. The ancient Qualian had led the Council for 7 centuries, but nothing had prepared her for this. "High Commander, explain how the humans destroyed your armada," Thaz continued when the chamber quieted. "You reported their complete extinction 3 standard cycles ago." They've changed. Vextar's usual arrogance had evaporated, replaced by something the galaxy had never seen in a Krell leader: fear. Their ships defy physics, their weapons ignore our defenses, they speak of architects and transcendence. They've become something else, something beyond. His transmission cut off mid-sentence. In its place, a new figure appeared in the center of the chamber. Admiral Octavia Harrison stood before the assembled species of the galaxy, but she was no longer entirely human. Her form seemed to shift between solid matter and pure energy, her presence filling the vast space despite being a mere projection. Members of the Galactic Council. Harrison's voice resonated through every universal translator simultaneously, somehow conveying meaning beyond mere words. I am Admiral Octavia Harrison of the Transformed Human Fleet. We need to discuss your recent policies regarding the genocide of sapient species. The chamber erupted. Several representatives tried to flee, only to find the exits sealed by barriers of twisted space. Others reached for weapons, but their devices simply refused to function. Please, Harrison raised a hand and silence fell like a physical weight. We're not here for revenge. If we wanted you dead, you would be. We're here to offer you a choice. Speaker Thaz found her voice first. What choice? You humans were deemed too aggressive, too unpredictable. The Krell's action was sanctioned. The murder of 17 billion sentients was sanctioned. Harrison's form blazed brighter and several representatives cowered. The destruction of our homeworld, the hunting of our colony ships, the execution of surrendering civilians, which of these atrocities did you vote to approve? Silence answered of her. As I thought, Harrison continued, her form stabilizing. But we discovered something in our exile, something the architects wanted us to understand. Power without wisdom is chaos. Wisdom without compassion is cruelty. And a galaxy that sanctions genocide is a galaxy that has lost its way. She gestured and holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber. They showed human ships, the transformed fleet, engaging in battles across the galaxy. But they weren't attacking, they were defending. Krell slave worlds being liberated, oppressed species being given the technology to resist, dying civilizations being saved from extinction. For 3 days, while you've been debating here, we've been busy, Harrison explained. Every Krell military installation has been neutralized. Every slave collar has been deactivated. Every planet-killer weapon has been removed from existence. The age of terror through superior firepower is over. The Draconian ambassador, a towering reptilian with scales like polished obsidian, rose from his seat. And what makes you any different? He demanded. You speak of ending terror while demonstrating power beyond imagining. How are we to trust you won't become worse than the Krell? Harrison smiled, and for a moment her form solidified completely, showing the woman she had been scarred, tired, but unbowed. Because we remember being powerless, she replied softly. We remember the fear, the desperation, the choice between extinction and evolution. The architect's gift comes with understanding. True strength lies not in domination but in elevation. She waved her hand again, and new images appeared. Human ships working alongside former enemies, sharing technology, teaching, learning. Worlds ravaged by war being restored. Species on the brink of extinction being pulled back from the edge. We propose a new galactic charter, Harrison announced. No species shall face extinction by another's hand. No civilization shall be denied the right to grow and learn. And those who would become tyrants will face not just humanity, but all free species united against them. The Xindi representative, known for their calculating nature, clicked thoughtfully. And if we refuse this charter, then you'll destroy us as you did the Krell. No, Harrison replied simply. But without the technology to enforce your will on others, how will you maintain your empires? We've already begun distributing defensive systems to every spacefaring species. The days of technological superiority determining who lives and who dies are over. The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. The balance of power that had existed for millennia was crumbling. Species that had cowered under Krell rule were being given the means to defend themselves. The entire structure of galactic civilization was being rewritten. You can't, Vextar's hologram flickered back to life, his form distorted by interference. The natural order. The natural order, Harrison's laugh echoed through dimensions. You mean the order where you decided who deserved to exist, where you played gods with entire civilizations? That order died the moment you glassed Earth. You created us, Commander. When you tried to destroy humanity, you forced us to become something beyond your comprehension. The Admiral's form began to fade, but her presence remained overwhelming. The transformed fleet will remain in the galaxy, watching, protecting, teaching. Any species that wishes to learn, to grow, to transcend their limitations will find teachers. Any that choose the path of tyranny will find guardians standing in their way. As Harrison's image dissolved, the council chamber remained silent. Then, one by one, representatives began to speak, to question, to debate the dawning reality of a galaxy transformed. Back in the Sol system, Commander Juno Reyes stood on the observation deck of the UES Invictus, watching as impossible energies swirled around what had once been Earth. Where a dead, molten world had orbited, transformation was underway. Matter rearranged at the quantum level, guided by technologies beyond human understanding. "It's beautiful," Harrison said, materializing beside her. The Admiral's form was more stable now, though still occasionally rippling with energies that defied normal perception. "Will it be Earth again?" Juno asked softly. "No," Harrison replied. "And yes, it will be a world where humans can live, but it will be something more as well, a beacon, a symbol of what's possible when extinction becomes evolution." Juno turned to face her former superior, the architects. Who were they really? Harrison's gaze focused on something distant, something Juno suspected no purely human eyes could see. "They were us, Juno, or rather what we might become. When we fled into the void with our remaining ships, we discovered an anomaly, a fold in spacetime that shouldn't have existed. We were desperate, being hunted, and so we took a chance and passed through it." She gestured, and a window opened in reality beside them, showing images that made Juno's mind struggle to comprehend. Vast structures of pure thought, beings of energy and potential, civilizations that span dimensions rather than mere space. What we found was a realm where time flows differently, where consciousness and matter are more fluid. The beings there recognized something in us, a potential, a spark. They had been watching our kind for millennia along with many others. They called themselves the Watchers, but we knew them from our legends as the Architects. "They gave us this technology?" Juno asked, gesturing to the transformed fleet. Harrison shook her head. "No, they showed us the path to develop it ourselves. For them, it was a test. Would we use this knowledge for revenge or for something greater? They've seen many species face the brink of extinction, most either perish or become what destroyed them. Juno understood then, and we chose a third path." "We're still choosing," Harrison corrected her. "Every day. That's why I need people like you, Juno, people who remember what it means to be human even as we become something more. The galaxy is full of broken systems, oppressed species, worlds in need. The Krell were just the most visible symptom of a deeper disease." Behind them, a soft chime signaled an incoming transmission. A hologram appeared, a reptilian figure with scales the color of sunset. Juno recognized Ambassador Krelthar, son of the Krell High Commander. "Admiral Harrison," he began, his voice heavy with formal tones. "The Krell Dominion has considered your terms. Our High Council is prepared to accept the new charter and enter reparation negotiations with affected species." Harrison nodded. "A wise choice, Ambassador. Representatives from the liberated worlds will contact you shortly. I suggest you prepare generous offers." After the transmission ended, Juno looked at Harrison questioningly. "You're letting them survive after what they did to Earth's?" "Extinction solves nothing," Harrison replied. "The Krell's power is broken. Their empire is dissolving as we speak, as subjugated worlds claim independence with our help. But the Krell themselves deserve the chance to evolve beyond what they were, just as we have." She turned back to the viewport, where the reborn Earth continued its transformation. "Besides, the universe is about to become far more interesting than ancient grudges. The architects showed us glimpses of what lies beyond our galaxy, threats and wonders alike. Humanity will need allies for what's coming." "What is coming?" Juno asked, feeling a chill despite herself. Harrison's smile contained galaxies of possibility. "Evolution, Commander, on a scale we're only beginning to comprehend. But first," she gestured to the viewscreen where hundreds of human ships were gathering, their newly awakened crews marveling at their transformed vessels. "We have a galaxy to heal and a new humanity to build." Outside, stars seemed to pulse in rhythm with the Admiral's words, as if the universe itself was listening. The war had been lost, but humanity had found something far greater than victory. In the depths of space where Earth had once been, a new world took shape, its surface already glimmering with the lights of a civilization that would never again be confined to a single world or a single form. The midnight hour had passed. The dawn of humanity's ascension had begun. And across the galaxy, species that had never known hope began to look up at the stars with new eyes, whispering stories of the humans who had faced extinction, and returned as something more, not conquerors but guardians. The age of the Krell was over. The age of transcendence had begun.